Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Gibson. Not too many technical difficulty. I can't even say it. It was like Hello Betty the other night. Not too many technical difficulties tonight. This is good. Um, I just got this coffee maker. I have to always talk about it. It's good coffee, and it'll tongue tie you. The coffee is so rich. So please forgive. Hope all is well out there. I'm Michael Gibson, the creator of Norm Therapy. We are absolutely in the throes of sessions with both Bobby and Montez. These are an amazing couple. They've gone through a lot. They've had some extremely sordid pasts, but also some tremendous circumstances that have occurred in their lives, both good and bad. I'm so proud of both of them and the progress that they've made and the things that they're doing in life. Uh, I always tell people when it comes to abuse, most often abuse has to do, if not all of the time, has to do with fear. And it's not the kind of cowardly fear that we always think of. Sometimes it's the fear of failure, the fear of reprisal, the fear of that lick back or uh, that payback. Sometimes people are lulled into a false sense of insecurity based on the fears that they think they should have about a certain circumstance or situation. That's not always true. At Norm Therapy, we help people figure that out. How to overcome fear. Fear is but an emotion, and it's controllable, but you have to know how. You have to give yourself a little bit of patience and time to overcome them. Even with the biggest bully or the nastiest narcissist, fear will play and wreak havoc on you. And once you know how to conquer that fear, it's easier, not easy, but easier for you to deal with. Let's talk about life in general. Our sum of our experiences, there was Montez, our sum, and I'm gonna let him in 1 second, but our sum of our experiences make us who we are now. It it generates all of what we know about ourselves and what we've gone through and what we'll go through is through mostly our environment. And we're going to talk more about that and why we react and respond to people the way we do. And remember, I just said react and respond. Those are two different ways of answering or replying. You either react, and normally a reaction goes without any kind of thought. It's normally a knee-jerk effort, and your response is something normally thought out and something that you can probably control. So we're going to talk more about that too. Uh, I'm going to go ahead and ask Montez to come in because he's already there, so that's good. Hey, Montez, how are you today?
Hey, how you doing, man? Apologize for the difficulties I was having with the sensitivity in the keyboard.
Yeah, brother, it's okay.
Yeah,
People like seeing your face. We're getting more views. These things start out slow. We're going to do a lot of advertising here in the future, and that's going to boost our audience, I'm sure. But organically, people are liking what they hear and see, and that's being said. I was
okay.
telling you during our break, before we started, I was telling you that there's something I like about you, and very few people have this ability. But once I spell it out for everyone about you, then they'll look within themselves, hopefully, and say, okay, am I one of those or am I the other? One of the things I like about you, you are good at what comes next. No matter what it is, you brace yourself, you prepare yourself, and you try to be ready for what comes next. Most people spend a lifetime trying to learn that and to no avail and failing miserably at it because they fear the unknown. What I think you've learned about the unknown is that there's a whole lot of wisdom in what you don't know. There's more wisdom in what you don't know and then in what you do know. Now, you may have never articulated it this way, but I'll see if I can expand quickly before we go on to our session. When you know something, what do? You hone in on it, you zero in on it, and you get it done. And you
Yeah,
put that focus on it, and you get that thing done. You just zero in on it. And it's absolutely oftentimes flawless.
yeah,
Oftentimes you go to a place when you know something well and you just get it done and you look for those results that are just, spectacular.
Right.
Whatever it is. I just learned to shine my car a new way, or use a different wax, or take out the transmission, whatever it is you focus on. And once you know it, it's when you don't know something, people don't take a lot of interest in what they don't know. You've had a lot of time, especially in prison, to read. So you just were finding out something new every day, I'm sure, living
Yeah.
vicariously through the books that you read.
Yeah.
But when you don't know something, what does that make life to you? It makes life a world of opportunity. Everything's an opportunity when you don't know something. You can go here, you can go there, you can look at it this way, you can look at it that way, you can go any kind of way you want when you don't know.
Yeah.
And you get a multiple of decisions and opportunities and breaks or brick walls. But it's more than just that one honing of that thing that you know. That's why people keep repeating the same things over and over again, and they keep failing because they only know that thing and they're uncomfortable with the unknown of venturing outside of themselves and finding something new. I remember we first started talking about coming on air live and talking about this and having an audience and a voice. I remember your reply was like, okay, let's do this. You didn't know what it was going to be like.
Right.
You just went to, I know what's coming next. And I'm okay with that. And I was surprised because, you know, your wife was already in, but I was like, I wonder if he'll do it. And then when you were just on board, it made me think several times about you. Few people are good at that. Just good at what comes next, be it a dangerous situation, a wonderful situation, a new family member, a travel, or move to a new house, or get a new job. Very few people are even okay at what comes next, and you're just good at it.
Yeah.
So is Bobby. I like that about both of you. Both move, you move ahead. You move laterally, you move sometimes backwards, but you do it kind of in step with one another. And that's kind of interesting. I wanted to say all that to say that's the only way people survive life is embracing what comes next and dealing with it. I always tell people you deal with life before life deals with you.
Mm-hmm.
You've had life deal with you most of your life. And it, like you almost that 50 days you had to go back to prison and revisit yourself in that environment and say, you know what? This is not where I belong. It took you seeing that next to say, I'm not doing that next. I'm going to do this next. I'm going to move away from this and go in another direction. And you did that. Do you feel proud of yourself for having done that?
For the most part, I do. There's a whole lot of stuff, man, that I could have done better. Over the last I came home December the 6th, 2016. Between then and 24, I had a few instances where I had to go to the county jail for 2-3 days a week, whatever the probation officer deemed appropriate. But it was always it wasn't the big stuff. It wasn't selling dope or shooting at nobody or carrying a gun or I mean, it wasn't even domestic like violence. It might have been an argument they got called for, but it wasn't me beating nobody down or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? But I still was moving. I was stepping straight, but then I started stepping sideways. And so when I went back to do that 50, things the way that I had the way that they were for me during the tenure that I had to be in prison weren't the same way. And I made up in my mind that I can't live the way that they're making people live now. I
Did you
can't
weigh
be
your
around.
circumstance?
Excuse me.
Did you weigh your circumstance? Did you say, is this 50 days worth whatever you did to get there?
Was the 50 days worth whatever I did to get there? I think so, if I'm gonna be honest with myself.
Be honest with
Because
me too. Cool. We
it
can do
well,
that.
yeah, well, of course. You know,
That's even.
um,
Whatever.
I I I I was in a predicament where I didn't want to be in the state of Wisconsin anymore. And I'm bound by the law because see, I got 23 years for the crime that I committed there. And 15 of that had to be served on paper, but 8 of that 23 had to at least be served in prison. Well, I ended up doing a little more than 8. So we're talking about the end of 10 years. When I came home, I it was the same as when I did the 50 days. I knew I didn't want to be there. I got tired of being in jail, tired of missing my life, tired of people dead, tired of every single thing. You know what I'm saying? But I don't like authority, and I'm having it's a whole lot of times that I'm having a lot of issues with white people the older I get. And I hate to say it like that because my wife is white and I have no superior bone in my body. I only know facts. I know what science tells me and I know what history tells me. And I could draw my conclusions from that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm having a whole lot of issues. And so with prison being dominantly ran by white people, I feel like you couldn't wait to get your lick back for whatever reason. You see what I'm saying? And so I
Yeah, but
can't
let me ask
listen.
you a question. Do you think it's her fault that they were bad white guards in prison? Do you think your wife had any kind of
No,
connection to it?
it's not. But see, I'm gonna tell you where the lines become blurred. Because I am in an interracial relationship, and when you become, when your actions display those that of the people who are doing it, you confuse me. No matter what you say.
Well, it's conditioning. That's why I'm
Right.
asking you about that connection. You've been conditioned to think that whenever someone white steps up on you and they speak to you out of your name or in an insulting manner or in a way that maybe you would be argumentative with them, you're conditioned to respond and react that way as well.
Right.
Nothing is unclear about that. I think
Yeah.
you see that. I don't think you, what I don't think you've done is put it into context in your contextualization of your life. I think that you take every white circumstance and you treat it in a, I don't want to say a vacuum in this particular case, but you treat it in a test tube. Like, does it meet the criteria of somebody trying to be racist, dominant, or demeaning, or to emasculate you, denigrate you? You put it all in that test tube and you shake it up to see if it turns red. And if it turns red, you turn red, and then
Right.
you're at it. And
Right.
and
Yeah.
I say this not because there's anything wrong with you for doing that. It's wrong to do that, but there's nothing wrong with you for doing that because that's what you know. Hey, if when I first joined the military, I thought I joined the KKK. I'm not kidding you. And I knew some of the best white guys I've ever known in my life. I met in the military.
Yeah.
Often, I mean, just amazing human beings. I depended on them with my life. They depended on me with their lives,
Yeah.
just like brothers. And even when we got pissed off at each other, we were still on the same team with the same operation, and we still took care of each other. I can tell you that. But some guys, you just knew they were going back to the locker in the scuba. I mean, not the scuba room, but the team room. They go back in the locker. You just knew they opened up their locker, and there was a pointed hat up in there, pointed white hat. But you had to live with that. I had to not be conditioned to them. What I had to do was learn about them and try to understand them as individuals.
Yeah.
Because I had one British guy on the team, and one of my teams, I had a guy from Kentucky who talked like this here, but the smartest guy you'll ever meet. The smartest guy, but he talked like a yeah, buddy. But that boy was brilliant. But you have these types of people that fall into that matrix of your understanding of what racism look like, what poverty looks like, being oppressed look like, being beaten down literally, physically, mentally, socially, emotionally, and psychologically. Having been beaten down that way, you have people who come into your midst and they seem, every guy in the world. If let's say you were a guard, would you walk into the prison feeling sorry for you? It's like, oh man, I got to deal with these people every day. Would you walk in there with a straight up back going, hey, I'm the man. I'm in charge here. You're going to do it my way. You see, what would you do?
I would walk in there like, oh man, I got to deal with these people every day.
You got to be tougher than you have to be the same as tough as yourself as they had to
Yeah.
be for themselves in the position they're in. As you were in their position, you had to be tough too.
Yeah.
But what you have to do is learn, and this is okay that you don't know, because most people don't know what I'm about to tell you. They just live their lives in these bubbles. You ever notice sometimes you talk to people and you wonder how they don't know something? You're like, how is this guy is 40 years old and don't know this? Do you ever find yourself doing that?
Yeah.
It's because when people never leave their environment, they never change, they never do anything differently. They go to the same vacation spots, they hang out with the same people, they do the same things. They don't grow. They've grown in their estimation to a point where they stop growing. Now they'll
Yeah.
pick up a little information every day about this, that, and the other, but they'll stop literally growing mentally, socially, sexually. Some people do the same position their whole life and wonder why their wife says, I don't like this. This is not working for me because they don't try anything different. Not to bring up sex in this context, but sex is one of those things that we have a visceral connection with our mate. So we have to change it up every now and then and make it more exciting and keep it refreshed. Those kinds of things are important to do. So everything you do, if you don't belong in a bubble, and you just said it a minute ago, I got tired of being in the state of Wisconsin. You were ready to move on, get out of there. You ended up doing 50 days over it. You were ready to get the heck out of Dodge.
Then that ain't just 50 days, but you got to think I got caught in another state. I got extradited, had to do time in Kentucky, had to deal with the jail in Missouri that didn't want black people at all.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Had to go back to Chicago. I don't even think I got to tell you what type of mess happens in Cook County Jail.
Oh yeah, I know. I think you. I think you have lived in places you could write books about. Once you can articulate your pain through all of that, as well as your joys, as well as your accomplishments, as well as your education, through all of that, you can help a whole lot of people with what you know. I promise you I'll help you with that. But I want to say this to you, if you like. I want to say this to you, that journey you went on, Montez, was a hard journey. You had to do time in Kentucky, do time in Missouri, do time, get all the way get back. Then you do your 50 days once you get back to where you're going, right? Okay. Was that a waste of your time, Montez?
Oh, wow. I missed so much money. I was becoming entrepreneurial here in Ohio, but I just was doing it illegally because I wasn't supposed to be here. But I missed so much money. I can count, man, I bet you I could count $30,000 washing cars. We talking $3,500 contracts with big places like GMC and Buick.
Yeah, they were looking at you. They were looking at you seriously because you were doing something seriously, but you were doing it on the wrong foot. You needed to be on the right foot to do it, and you recognize that. So you learn from that.
I feel like God pumped my brakes. I feel like, because I believe in God, I believe in Him, and I'm no matter who I am, I'm gonna believe in Him. But I feel like he had to pump my brakes and make me see what was waiting on me. Keys are this big when you go to prison. The keys the guards open the door with, they look like 9mm. So
you don't see any of that anymore. Let me ask you a question. You said to me early on before the session started, we had a couple minutes to talk, and you said you had a pretty good last couple of days with your wife. Tell me about those days.
Well, I can see where I see effort where none used to be. In the I'm a big tone person. I don't really need you to be explicit or expound on how you feel. If I can hear how you say something, and I feel like that was an issue in our relationship because it caused a lot of different emotions to come out or whatever. But
how would that sound? How would that sound? Can you say this is
well,
what she said to me and do her voice?
With her, she's a smart aleck. She's very she says stuff and jokingly and really mean it. And you
she's
got to know her.
passive
Right,
aggressive.
sarcastic. I don't do sarcastic well. And every time she says something, I'll flare up and I'll feel like I got a base off back, like to save my manhood, save who I am or everything I've had to stand for. I can't let you just base off at me. So now we're arguing.
Would you like to know why she does that?
Because she used to being in charge.
No, that's not it at all. I wish it were that easy. If it were that easy, we could just hang up and talk about something else. Let's go talk about sports, shooting some hoops or something. But it's not that easy. It's because, remember, in every abuse, there's fear.
Yeah.
No matter the abuse in the world. I think I mentioned that in our monologue coming in. In every abuse, there's an underlying fear. And it isn't the kind of fear where you go, oh my God, what do I do? No, not always that. But sometimes it's fear of reprisal. Like if she knows she asks you to do A, you're not going to want to do A. So she builds up a defense inside of herself immediately, like, oh, I got to deal with him because A needs to be done. So instead of just coming straight out and say, we really need to get A done, let's figure out how we can get it done. At least we're whatever. And she's been there before with you, and A never went well for her. That response you give her never goes well. So she has to like buck up and ask you. Sarcasm is born from fear. Not that kind of a lack of courage fear, but that innate fear or trepidation that we have when we come into a circumstance with somebody where we know it may go bad. So we say something that way. So you're being, in her eyes, not that you're doing it on purpose, you're intimidating. You're the kind of guy you don't want to cross in a dark alley, not because you're dark, but because you're menacing. You're a menacing guy. You got to know that. By now, I'm menacing. People cross the street when they see me coming, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to tell you, it's how you carry yourself. People know, I can tell you that some people will step up on you because they got bravado and they got power and they know what they're doing, and some people won't. Most people won't step up on guys like us. They just don't do it. And those who would step up on us, they know what they're doing. So we got to deal with them accordingly. But your wife isn't one of those guys. You get it? That you're constantly having to be ready for what comes next. And so when she needs something and she's sarcastic about it, that's her way of saying, and not that she's a coward at all, because there's nothing cowardly about Bobby.
Right.
But that's her way of saying, I'm afraid to light this match because the volcano's going to blow up.
Okay.
That's where that sarcasm, that passive aggressiveness,
that
takeaway, that's where it comes when, just forget it, I'll do it myself. All those kinds of things come from the inability to be able to speak to you. And it's not your fault, by the way. It's not her fault either. It's just miscommunication. And oftentimes when people have miscommunication, they want to blame somebody or get their lick back in. And that's when things go awry or they go wrong, because not all bad communication is wrong. Sometimes you have to have bad communication in order to fix it. You have to know what it is that's broken in order to repair it. And that's what you guys don't stop to do, and say, your response could be, and I think you're doing that a little bit now, and I'm kind of feeling good about that. I hope it sticks. But your response should always be like, just tell me what you want to say, baby. It's okay. You don't have to be sarcastic. I understand why. Once a person think or believe in some fashion that you understand them to some extent, they begin to let their guards down a little bit. They begin to say, okay, let me be more human with him if he's going to be more human with me. Let me be vulnerable with him because he's being vulnerable with me now. And that's what trust is built, in that vulnerability. She's only being a sarcastic, forgive me for saying this about Bobby, but Bobby's a tough chick. So I'm going to say she's only being a sarcastic ass because she knows you're going to be an ass once she asks for whatever she wants. She's only reaching your height of heat in the room. Like it's 212 degrees for you. She want to get to 212 degrees before she say anything. That boiling temperature, whatever that is. So at the end of the day, I think you're smart enough to know. And you just said you had a couple of days that were good. What made it so good? Were you communicating well?
I think it wasn't so much about the communication, even though that plays a major role. It wasn't so much about the communication as it was about the acknowledgement from both of us. And when I say acknowledgement, I mean acknowledging the fact that I see effort, I see trying happening. And if I can acknowledge that physically, and if I can acknowledge that emotionally in the way that I deal with her, and she can too, then we stepping.
Okay.
And that's what works, I think, because we have strong opinions. I'm very headstrong. I know a little bit about a lot of things, and so, but
Well, I think
sometimes
you're
it
lying
might
there. I
be.
think you know a lot about a lot. You just haven't put it on
Well,
like
I'm gonna try to stay humble. I can't, but
humility is
we'll
good,
bump
but not
into.
that kind of humility. If you know
Yeah,
something, you don't have to be arrogant. I'm with you, bro. But
yeah, 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 yeah.
here's something you both deserve. You deserve this. You deserve to be not arrogant, but just confident about what you know
Yeah.
and be able to regurgitate and spit it out and talk about it at on any point.
I've been shamed for that. Don't you know people?
Nah, bro.
Yes, I have. I can
Really?
tell you
Tell me about
times.
it. Who has
Okay,
shamed you for knowledge?
okay. 2005, no, 2007. I was in Robinson, Illinois, outside of Marion, Illinois, on the state line by Terre Haute, and
Okay.
I went from being just a teacher's assistant in vocational school at this prison, but
Mm,
now they got me working in an administrative setting, meaning I'm up in the office with the big wigs as an inmate. I'm eating
mhm,
real food. I'm never in the room. All of these things coming with it. They look up and they see me on the news. They have what you call a reentry summit. They saw
mhm,
me on the news. The inmates around the prison see me on TV, on the news, in the gym where
mhm.
we play ball at. And they asked me what I came to that state for. I came to that state because I had a cold left hand. Okay. I will finger roll you like Isaiah Thomas with my left hand. And so education always been wrapped up in things, but I started selling dope in the school in Centralia. And so
You
I
screwed
came to
yourself.
the state, yeah, I came to the state looking for education. And I found some real good, nice powder cocaine that I could turn into crack. And so
And
what
that
did I
was
do?
not that worth that wasn't worth all the years of your time behind bars, was it?
No, because I was the only one that stayed solid. I got 10 years. I had to do 6 years on 10. Everybody else went home because they want they I stood for something at 19. I made 14, $15,000 a month. But
What?
my morals, my standards got me stuck in prison because I'm trying to be solid to everybody else. Ain't nobody being solid to me.
What's the most valuable commodity on the planet, bro? Take a stab at it.
For me personally, or
Yeah,
in
you
general,
personally. What's the most valuable commodity?
what I know,
Yeah, that should be secondary or even tertiary. Here it is. Time.
time.
No matter what you do for the rest of your life, you can't get those years back.
Yep.
You can't get that missed opportunity to tell your wife, I love you. Or you can't get back to wherever you are and what you could have, would have, should have. That time is gone.
Yep.
That's why they called it space-time continuum, because time is really non-existent. But we've codified time in the form of a clock. So we got 24 hours in a day, 12 in the darkness, and supposedly 12 in the light. And it doesn't necessarily end up at 12 noon when you got the darkness or the light. It's like 6 or 5 in the morning. I'm saying this for a reason. Once you lose time, that's a part of you that's gone forever, and there's nothing you can do about it. There is nothing in the world, not any amount of money, not any people, not any person worth your time. Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, when you go to prison, you're trading your time for pain instead of training or trading your time for life, or trading your time for that 15,000 a month you could have been making on car washing instead of dope or drugs or slinging. Yeah, how he said back in the day, slinging. Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
Don't ever barter your time, bro. That's why job mentality works for some people and not for others. Some people
Yeah.
look to become entrepreneurs because they want to better be able to enjoy their time. They want to do those hard things now, expend that energy now, build something solid now, so later they can enjoy their time with their kids, their time on vacation, their time with their wives and their husbands. This is what we do. So when you look at making decisions in the future that may send you for 50 days, 2 days, which I don't think you're in that boat anymore, but if ever it comes up, think about the time that you can never get back by making that other kind of decision. And I know that's not relevant or relative to a lot of people and how they think of life, because some people go along in life. You see these happy-go-lucky people that everything's just good happened for them. It's not because they're lucky and you're unlucky, but they have figured something out. They have figured out to go with the flow, to just keep on living no matter what happens and go with the flow. And those kinds of things will fall in your lap because you're not always around them. And they may have just as many bad things happen to them as good, but you only have seen the good because that's what they show you. That's what they demonstrate to you. You have had some lucky breaks. I mean, you get there and now you're on TV, you're working in an office, eating real food, and who screws it up?
I went home. But they didn't like the fact. They told me, back in the day in slavery times and even up to the 1960s, you weren't allowed to read or write. You'd get 50 lashings. In the 60s, you couldn't read or write. You couldn't even vote because you couldn't read or write or didn't know the state constitution. Now I know, and people will get mad about that.
Yeah.
And I've experienced it, man.
Oh,
Like,
gerrymandering and all that kind of
yeah,
voter suppression. Yeah, I know all about that. Trust me. My aunt was Evelyn Gibson Lowry. I don't know if you know who that is, but Evelyn Gibson Lowry was the first chair of the Women's Southern Leadership Baptist Church during the
okay, yeah,
Dr. Martin Luther
yeah,
King
yeah,
Southern Christian. And my uncle was Dr. Joseph Lowry, her husband,
okay,
civil rights activist, Dr. Martin Luther King's right-hand man.
yeah,
We in our family, we are stoked in civil rights from way back, even though
yes,
as a very small child, I wasn't in that. But as I got older, I got to know my other side of my family. And we know all about the civil rights era and what Black people could and could not do. And one of the things we need to know is that people ask the question. And let me clear something up so you don't think that all white people are bad, because they're not. Trust me,
yeah.
they're just not. But people always ask the question, when are Black people gonna pick themselves up and do better? And I know that's a racist question. That is a racist ass question. And it's racist because Black people are where they are because of white people. What people don't know is Blacks pre-civil rights era and during the civil rights era, and even closely after until the late 60s, early 70s, we had our own banks in our own neighborhoods. We had our own insurance companies. We had our own barbershops. We had our own newspapers. Matter of fact, the very first city in what they called the United States in 1738, before it was called United States in 1738, was a city in Florida. It was the first Black city in the United States in Florida called in Montez, Florida. I think it's Montez, Florida. Did you know that?
I did.
In 1738. And then what happened? What happened? And then later on, there were many other communities. Auburn, Georgia, or Auburn, Atlanta, in Georgia. We all know what happened in the riots over in Tulsa and a few
Yes,
other
we do.
places. We all
I've
know what
been there.
happened. White people destroyed every bank. This is not exaggerative. I'm not a racist by no stretch, but this is history. Every single major metropolitan area in the country over a period of time, especially during the riots the Watts riots and all of that in California, every Black neighborhood was destroyed, and not just by Black people rioting. The history will tell you everybody was destroying the Black neighborhood. So when all of that smoke cleared, there was nothing left but dust. It was like a wasteland, and no one's put any money into it since. And the few people who put money into the Black or downtrodden or even Hispanic or other areas in America, a lot of these, you go into some neighborhoods, you see 50, 60, 70, 80 homes, 1,000 homes, no one in them, downtrodden. Well, what investors do now, mainly white investors, they go into these downtrodden areas, they buy up all the structures, and through eminent domain, they say to the city, pay me money because I have all these structures. And the city pays them money to keep the area downtrodden. All over the country as a practice of real estate investment and law. This is on the books. This happens. And so when you go through a Black neighborhood, you see all these downtrodden places, and normally they're not owned by Black people. They're owned by white people, keeping them down until it's time through eminent domain, NSG, and all the other rules that they use, they knock it down and build condominiums. That's what happened to the projects in Chicago. Tell me I'm lying.
No, you ain't.
Right now, where I grew up and had to go live with my grandmother when we had problems in the projects, right now, you can't get a condominium under $500,000 over there.
Mm-hmm.
They knocked all those big red and white buildings down. Oh, yellow, they were really kind of beige and red buildings. They knocked them all down. And there you go. Robert Taylor Homes and on the west, on the Cabrini Green on the west side, Robert Taylor Homes on the south side. All that's gone. And now it's just money. That's what happened. Now,
that's
all
what happened.
white people do that? No. Investors did it. Normally, everything bad comes from Wall Street. Everything bad comes from Wall Street because everything's about the dollar. As you just said, each inmate was $1,500 a day or a month or whatever. That's revenue. That's how they make their money. But most white people, I don't think they go home and say, and I've known a lot, and say, let me fuck me some niggers over tonight. I don't think that's the way white people think.
No.
But I do think Black people, and I've seen this all my life, have been conditioned to respond negatively to white people because of the treatment of not only that particular person, but the culture and the finance and the education and the dismal living conditions and the poverty. They've been conditioned to respond, in that manner. So one of the things I like about Bobby, she made a decision way before she met you that she liked Black men. Mm-hmm. That's her prerogative. Mm-hmm. Some women like white men, some women like Black, some Black women will only date white men. Some white women will only date Hispanics or Arabs or whatever. That's just their preference, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But she made one, and she suffered for it her whole life. People have treated her down terribly because of being with Black men her whole life. Mm-hmm. So give her a break. Just because you don't like some white people and your wife happen to be the closest white people to you sometimes. You're like, I just want to strangle this white guy who's talking. You ever go to the grocery store and you go up to the counter? This happens to me. It happens to me. I go up to the counter and I say, excuse me, ma'am, can you tell me, is there any more that liquid detergent? She'll go, that it's in aisle 5. Let me look, it's right over there. Look at that sign right there. It's dot. She has to show the world she's instructing the nigga how to do something. Not all white people do this to you, but this happened to me a lot. They get loud and they get nasty and they get this, that, and the other. And you feel bad as a human being. So you know what I did? Because I speak Spanish, I go, hello, how are you? I know from here. Can you help me, please? And she comes out. Oh, yes, sir, I'll help you. I'll take you over there. And she walks me down the aisle and she gets it and takes care of me. But I go in there with a Black voice, I get treated like dog crap. Same person. I've done it. I've done it many times. And I'm telling you, people respond to Black people the way they do because they've been conditioned. It's not that they're racist. She probably doesn't have a racist bone in her body, but she's acting like one because she see other white people treat black people this way, or traditionally her family does, or traditionally her friends do. Those are the kinds of things that in a society of conditioning, we have to decondition ourselves. It just happens. So one of the things I think that I enjoy about this conversation is most people don't know this. Most people don't have a clue what we're talking about because they don't have to walk in our footsteps. You ever get on the elevator and somebody pulled their purse away from you?
I don't like that at all.
I know you don't like it. Neither
Like,
do I.
no,
It's so insulting, isn't it? Isn't that
yeah.
insulting?
So
You
I
get in
got
the elevator, first thing they do is yank their purse to the left.
yeah.
That's a common phenomenon with black men. It is so common. And it hurts. It's insulting.
Yeah.
But there is that black guy that gets on the elevator and takes their purse.
Yeah. He ain't me
He
though.
does exist.
You ain't got to do it to me because he did it. I work.
But they don't know. And that's where you and I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. They don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't like those kind of stereotypic circumstances that we find ourselves in. It's very stereotyped.
Yeah.
But being black isn't as clear as it used to be. There was a time you can walk in somewhere and you see a sign say, no blacks allowed, or no niggers, or whatever. You knew where you stood. You knew exactly where you stood. Not that that was good or better, but it was clear, emphatically clear. And then along came desegregation. And that ripped out all of the good things of all dark communities in the country all at once. It took all the doctors, it took all the lawyers, it took all the accountants, it took everybody in society and put them in white America. And it sprinkled, it did just what it said it did. It desegregated and sprinkled black people all over the place, which left zero infrastructure in the already diminishing hoods in America, the already downtrodden areas. It took the talent right out of it and to never come back or return. Unlike the Hispanic neighborhoods, the Irish, the Jewish, the Chinese, and other cultures in the United States, they pretty much remain in some type of homogenized playing field within their own communities. They had banks that supported them, the insurance companies that supported them. They had I want to say not vehicles, but yeah, vehicles, a way to get to bank more money. If they want to buy an apartment complex, they can go to this firm because they were not black. Blacks couldn't go to anywhere and get money to buy an apartment complex. Unless you and your family saved up and you maybe somebody died and left you some insurance, then you can go buy a few houses and keep building it. That's all blacks could do. But there was no real way to go in and say, I need $100 million to buy up this neighborhood so we can rebuild it and resell it and get some condo money out of it. That didn't happen for many generations, for every generation up until the 1970s, 80s, or even 90s. So I'm saying all this to you that if your wife is the closest person to you, and black people have gone through so much, and especially you, sometimes she's the easiest target because she's white. Not because she's guilty, but because she's white. And I think you take advantage of that, and I don't think you should. I think you should think twice. And I'm glad that you're looking at your relationship differently now. And it angers me. Sometimes I'm around some white people and they make these black jokes. Oh my God, I hate them. I hate black jokes from a white person, not because they can't tell a good joke, because I know some white boys and girls who will make you fall down on the ground and laugh until you blow up. But it's the one with the unfamiliarity. When people don't have the familiarity with the community or the culture or anything else, and they're trying to make a joke, normally that's very insulting. And I think you've experienced a lot of that in your life. And that kind of denigration or disrespect.
I don't take advantage of the fact that she's white. What happens, what takes place is you make comments I'm from Indiana, and anybody will tell you they align my city, my town with the deep South. And that's all we've known. So when you make these little comments that's just like the ones that are just like that, coming from my wife, that make me question you. Because
Right.
it's one thing that I'm never ever gonna betray, man. I love my people, I love my culture. I'm not gonna shut up. People die for me to talk.
You should never forsake your people or your culture or anybody for that matter that you care about, but
Yeah,
especially your own culture.
yeah,
But you were conditioned to not take it.
right.
Marion, you were conditioned like any white person step up on me. I remember we go to white people's home and when we were growing up, and my mother would say things like, okay, you know, these people are white. We're gonna go in their house and we're gonna do this and don't touch
That's
this
right.
and don't touch that. It was always like that. And I was like, what the hell? So you get there and then we never really ran air conditioning in our home, but you get there, it's freezing in this house. It's like wintertime inside of the house. And you go play with the kids and you don't see any big deal. You don't understand why all the hype, why all the conversation. Kids don't know. We just don't know until we do.
Hmm.
And we're normally taught by our parents or somebody, who have influences in our lives. But I could have gone either way because I was kind of bad too when I was growing up. That's why I joined the military. By the way, we'll have that conversation another time. But
Yeah.
I was kind of not a good guy when I was growing up, but pretty bad as a matter of fact, you know. But I was kind of lucky. I was just lucky. And we'll talk about that another time. I promise you. Do yourself a favor though. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Sometimes you say bad things to your wife, your friends, people who don't get you. Let yourself off the hook for that. It's okay. It's not your fault. You're only a product of your environment. Now you're in a new environment. Become a product of this environment. Not because you want to change or any of that kind of stuff. Nothing will ever make you change. Nothing will ever make you change. So don't try to let something else make you change. The only thing that can change you is you. Your wife can't change you. The new car you get will not change you. The $1 million lottery you win will not change you. You'll just be a different version of Montez with $1 million. The only thing that can affect change in you is you. You ever hear somebody trying to quit smoking? They go,
Mhm.
yeah, my wife don't want me to quit. I mean, she don't want me to smoke anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and quit and da da da. And they never quit. They go back out to the garage and have one. They go see a friend and have one. They go to a poker game and they have a few because they're quitting for the wrong reasons. They're not quitting for themselves. Same with what you're doing. You said you had a couple good days. Between now and next week, what are you going to do different? Tell me.
Um, I'm still a tad bit impulsive, a little bit. I'm nothing like I was just even 6 months ago, but I'm still a tad bit impulsive, and that impulsivity find me in garbage, and I don't want. That's what I'm trying to. You gotta be able to stop and think, and if I can't stop and think before I react, I don't want to be a reactor. I don't want to be impulsive. I want to think first. What I know, the creed that I stand by, the things that I've generated for myself in my mind, I know I got to be a thinker. Ain't nobody gonna think for me, you know.
Yeah, thinking is good if you have the information you need. Always ask yourself when you're thinking about something before you respond. Always ask yourself, do you have both sides of the argument in your head? Do you have their perspective and yours, even if it's the person you don't like and it's not your wife? But let's say this person across from you is just the nastiest human being on the planet. Before you react, bro, you need to think about their argument, not because you want them to be more right than you are, but because you need to understand from where they come. That's the
Mhm.
only way you're going to know where you're going is if you know where you are coming from or they are coming from in any circumstance. Once you know where they're coming from, it's easy for you to calm yourself because it may not be as bad as you think because you're not thinking about their position in the matter. You're only thinking about yours. like you said a minute ago, marry him. I ain't taking it. Well, sometimes you have to hear it, even if it's something you don't want to hear, just so you understand what the problem is, instead of jumping to that quick conclusion that you need to knock somebody out or get into an argument or do something you otherwise shouldn't be doing. So sometimes it's better to just stop and think and just chill. I've
The
had
only
people.
thing that make me say that is because I just was coming back from the store when I had my boys with me, and one of them, is autistic, and
Mm-hmm.
he had to use the bathroom. Now, I'm from small town America, and we in a big city. He can't use it, and he's autistic. I'm not about to make him sit there and just sit there until he has an accident. I told him to go around that building, make sure ain't nobody looking, get behind the dumpster somewhere, do what you got to do. Well, and that's what I felt like I supposed to done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there was no access to no bathroom nowhere. Well, I'm in some man running the store and he's being real aggressive. And me, I'm usually jovial. I'm usually smiling. I know I get to know the people working the register. They know me when they see me coming. People
Mm-hmm.
love me. You know what I'm saying? This man comes in there and he proceeds to cuss my son out. And I looked at him and I say, man, first of all, I'm the daddy by law, and I told him to go around there and use the bathroom because I was not going to make him sit there and use the bathroom on himself. For you to come in this store and talk in the way that you're talking, just because you're a business next door and you're a black guy who don't like the Arab people, right now I wouldn't spend my money with you. I wouldn't care if you was purple because
But
of the
you
way
put him in
that
his
you're.
place, you thought, because
But I wanted to do more than that. I love my people. That mean, man, like if this was the Western time, man, I look
no, I know it'd have been a six shooter out, but this isn't the Western time. That's the whole point.
exactly.
Next point
And I
is that you have to be a diplomat when you deal with life these days, because not everybody is waiting to get knocked out. You know. Okay, so I think sometimes the better angel needs to prevail. I think what you do is you suppress your better angels. You ever read Romans chapter 7?
I'm gonna get it tattooed on my head somewhere.
You need to, maybe your arm, but do a Mike Tyson tattoo right here. There you go. But
Right.
Romans chapter 7 is about the angels, bro. It's about your good angel and your bad angel. And guess what? Everybody have their good and evil within them, whether they call them angels or demons or whatever they call them, whatever, if they believe in religion or not, we all have our good and bad within us. And that good and bad is gonna war each other for your all of your existence, for your soul. For who are you going to be? If the bad angel wins, that's who you are. If the good angel wins, that's who you are. But if they come to like a deal and a compromise, then you can be tough, but also fair and good about it. Chances are the man needed to be educated. That perhaps, my son is autistic and I couldn't make him do it. And I apologize if we did anything to disturb your storefront or rear or whatever it was. And if I need to go back there and clean it up, I'll do it. That would diffuse and disarm that situation right away, because you're a grown man and you're talking about your son that you're taking care of and you're making sure he's okay. And maybe the better angel, not because you punking out, but that's just an honorable thing to do. Somebody poop on your property, maybe you want to, okay, let me get a plastic bag, pick it up, throw it in a dumpster. I apologize. Next time I'll stick around with him and make sure and he has access to some kind of bathroom. But in this particular case, he didn't, so we do apologize. That would have disarmed this man so easily. You ain't a punk. If he decides to jump off, you're going to take care of him. I know that. I'm not worried about that. But it wasn't necessary to put him in his place, because his place was to say, somebody just pooped over here. But he just treated you and your son with disrespect as a result. And I think that you could have diffused it much better.
I diffused it, man. If I hadn't, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. I ain't gonna lie to you because I'm mostly quiet. I
But
don't
how
do
you
a whole
got
lot.
there is what I'm pointing out. I know you are
Yeah.
sitting here right now, and that
Yeah.
man is still breathing because you took care of business. But what I'm trying to tell you, sometimes there's a quicker way to diffuse a situation than to get upset. That zero
Yeah.
to six that you do. That's all I'm saying. But I'm proud of you. I'm really proud of you that that happened. You handled your business. Now you know that perhaps we'll do it a different way the next time, I hope. We'll talk more about that strategy as we move on. Is there anything you want to tell me?
No, I'm pretty content, man. Everything is in front of me. I know what got to be done, and I know what I'm willing to do. And like you said, it's go time. I know, no messing around. Just got to do it. So I'm pretty
Respect
content
is
right now.
everything, bro.
Yeah.
Respect. Without respect, nothing works. Period. Nothing works. But also trust is a heavy second to respect. It's the heavyweight contender to respect. It really is. So you got to not only trust in the people you care about around you, but you have to trust in yourself that you're going to make the right decisions. And if you don't make the right decisions, even when you find out that they are not the right decisions, you're going to do something about it and try to correct it. That is how life operates. That's how life works. It's not always let's beat them down and hit them with a pipe and just hold your own. Sometimes it's, we get beat down a little, we beat somebody else down a little, and we just keep going. We don't try to crush them. Sometimes that way. Okay.
Don't try to crush them.
Been there, done that. It doesn't always work. What actually works, though, is, some of my best friends in life, before I close out, started out kind of like my enemies.
Yeah.
Just I hated the guy. They hated me. And next thing you know, we're talking, and then he's my boy, and I've known the guy 30 years now. You get it?
Yeah.
Exactly. Listen, I'm going to read this thing here. If you've enjoyed and got something out of tonight, and I hope you did, and we talked about a lot of sensitive subjects, racism and white and black and all of that dynamic, but it's true. It just happens. Whether you agree with it or not, it happens. We just have to learn how to live with it and understand it. But please show your support by sharing this video, subscribing to our channel, and of course, liking it and saying some words, type in some words. I'd like that very much. Our next norm therapy session with Montez will be with me Saturday, February 11th? No, not at all.
Tuesday, the 13th.
Tuesday. Yeah, it'll be Tuesday. February was that 14th, at Valentine's Day? I think it is.
13th.
13th, yeah. February 13th. No, it's the 4th. Right, I'm gonna see Bobby on the 13th, on Sunday. On the 12th, on Sunday. Don't worry about it. This Sunday, 6 p.m., I'm with Bobby and with you on Tuesday. It's okay. And the following Tuesday. Tuesdays and Thursday with Montez, and my notes are mixed up here, so forgive me. Tuesdays and Thursday with with Montez, and Sunday with Bobby. Okay, and please go to GoArrow, GOARO.org, and normtherapy.com, both to explore opportunities and seek help for yourself or someone needing our services. Thank you. And if you would like to become a norm therapist, we are here for you. We have an excellent training course, about 6 months long, plus you have a long probationary period. So it works out to about a year that you're a norm therapist when you're finished. And we have some pretty awesome people. I'm going to start inviting a couple to our show so they can sit in and ask you questions and talk with you and get to know you, Montez. I'm going to do the same with Bobby, so you can see some of our other norm therapists once I get them cleared to come online. Okay?
All right.
All right, brother. It's always good talking to you. If you need me, I'm a phone call away, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. You too. Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all out there. I'll look forward to talking to you guys soon.